Interstellar Object, comet, spacecraft. Well, you decide. We've got a situation here where a lot of conjecture, a lot of theories. Though talking to a few remote viewers and experiences, it's coming to a sort of somewhat agreement through the data that we are talking about a spacecraft. Now, I haven't looked into it myself. It hasn't come up in my own contact or experiences recently. Though I taught remote viewing on the weekend here at Jaya Sanctuary, and I got it to be viewed. There was a few viewers in the class that I've been working with for a while that are great viewers, and the data was interesting, to say the least. So in this case, it was done blind, meaning they didn't know what the target was. So for those new to remote viewing, this has been something that's been around for a while. People have different perspectives on what remote viewing is, but if we go back to government project Stargate in the United States, this is really what everything is based around these days if you do it in the way that I'm describing here, which is using a paper protocols. You are given it a target, which can be a place, a person, an event, what have you. It's designated with 2 sets of 4 digits. And when it's done so, it's given to the remote viewer with 2 sets of 4 digits as a reference. And when they write down those 2 sets of 4 digits, they do a squiggles, an ideogram. And then they go through a process of what they're perceiving through the senses. So what's the first thing that comes to mind with colours, shapes, objects, taste, textures, the list goes on. I'm just making this very condensed and brief here. And personally, I believe anyone can do it. So let's just have a look at what the data is in this case. So I'm just pulling it from 4 people here. And when we go into the data, we do have a commonality of smooth. So one of them said here, round, smooth, the colours, yellow, black, green, smells pleasant, tastes dry, temperature's cool, sound or sounds noisy, talking loud, dimensions, motion, spinning, busy. How would you feel if you were there? Curious. And how would the site look if you were there? People and entities. And for AOL, which is the analytical overlay, where you are just thinking you may be making it up, the human brain's kicking in, and sometimes there can be great data in that. If not, it can be the target. This person got bee, farm, flowers. Moving on from this, we've got one here where the viewer actually did a drawing, as you can see here with the blue, very similar to the actual target picture. It's very close, almost like a photo match. And what they've got here is location, galaxy, start in the universe, if I've got that correct there, and geometric, windy path, and there was a reference to geometric in the analytical overlay. Of course, some other stuff there that could have to do with where the picture was being taken from. You've got a boy on path looking at the sky, teddy bear, night sky, young boy. Moving on from here to the next one. And we've got an interesting drawing here for the ideogram, and I'll come back to this in a moment. But there wasn't much for this viewer except curiosity, but they got straight to, in the AOL, alien ship, prawn grey. Now, where this gets interesting, if I go into the next one, is that this person got smooth, grey, that's been mentioned a few times. And then we go into the emu eyes, which is what's being said here. Why this is interesting is when going over the data briefly with the viewers, this was one of many training targets. I sort of go pretty intense when we're doing it, but it was very interesting because the the person that wrote Emu Eyes, as well as the person that did the previous drawing ideogram, it's like they came into an agreement of seeing something similar as a face in terms of what the person did as the ideogram and what the person said as emu eyes. Even with the person who wrote prawn said their eyes were like prawn, and when emu eyes is brought up, it's like, yeah, it was like that. So there's no sort of data on a comet, anything natural. There is a reference to alien ship, there's a reference to entities, and even there was a talk when I was talking with them of like a hive mind scenario, and you do have a situation with entities that I've interfaced with where, for an example, with the Andromedan galaxy, ascended ones, they are a hive mind intelligence of ascended beings, but they still embrace the individual aspect of what they each are. It's very much embraced. It's not sort of like a Borg situation from Star Trek. We've got to also take into consideration that data can be wrong. I know that even enough people thinking a situation is real or a being in the collective consciousness can create an egregore situation to where it can actually create the situation to be real, that they're thinking is real, that isn't originally real, but now it comes into being. But a number of people that I do know are saying that this is a spaceship. There's different, we could say, beings with perspective of who's behind this. And the one thing that was coming through was very much neutral. But you've got to remember too, is that with crafts, they can project to be a type of craft that they are not. They can cloak. They can mislead through doing things like this. There's also a situation of, could this be something that's being used for disclosure? A one world government type scenario. There's many things that we can theorize on this, and that's the number one thing to remember here is theorize. Nothing's set in stone. There's no ground truths, though remote viewing is very much what I would say useful tool. Useful data. It's being used in many ways. It's very applicable and very beneficial, but we just don't know at the moment. But I do find it interesting that just off the cuff, getting it done, because it's just something I haven't really been interested to even look into, tell you the truth. Though the other day it was brought to my attention that the substance around this object itself, including it, is up to around, don't quote me, but I believe 700,000 kilometers. It's meant to be half the size of the sun. That's pretty interesting, and it's in our solar system. So I think it's just something to keep an eye on. There's a lot being brought up in the social media feeds and that's being said. But like anything, I just hope this has been beneficial. Look for the fruit in any information, including this. How does it help you be a better person, be of service, and bring love and joy into your life? Of course, knowledge is great, but the wisdom in how we implement that knowledge is very much key into having a fruitful life. So, again, I just hope this has been beneficial, and thank you for joining me.